And at number 10, we got Donald Trump. The former president has been banned from the majority of social media platforms. The domino effect of bans started when he was banned from Twitter following the January 7th insurrection that took place at the Washington, D.C. Capitol. Immediately after the riots, he was banned off of Twitter and Facebook. Twitter's ban was permanent, while Facebook's was temporary, pending an investigation, although Facebook ended up extending the ban further. After these two major companies banned Trump, he was also banned from Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and even Pinterest. Trump has tried suing the platforms to get his profiles back, and he is currently in litigation with all the major platforms, so I guess we'll see what happens. And at number 9, Rihanna. So it seems that even Rihanna is not above the rules, and the singer was temporarily banned off Instagram after she posted a photo to the platform that violated their terms of service. The photo in question showed a lot of her backside, if you catch my drift. The account was quickly reactivated, however said photo was removed from her profile. Rihanna is not the last celebrity who was temporarily banned from the platform for a little misstep, and she has been vocal against their restrictions. And at number 8, Courtney Love. Singer Courtney Love was suspended off Twitter in 2011 after she made some defamatory comments about fashion designer Dawn Simorangkir. Apparently back in 2009, Love took to just about every social media platform, especially Twitter, to rant about Simorangkir, who was reportedly, quote, demanding payment for a few $1,000s worth of clothes. But things turned nasty fast, and she at one point accused the designer of being a sex worker. Simorangkir ultimately took the singer to court, and Love's feed was temporarily suspended ahead of trial in early 2011. According to Time, the singer settled the case for nearly $450,000. And this was actually not the last time one of her tweets got her in a lawsuit either. And at number 7, Azealia Banks. Azealia Banks has been somewhat of a cyberbully online for years, so it's not a shock that she ended up getting banned because of it. She had come after a number of celebrities over the years, but when she attacked Zayn Malik using racist and homophobic slurs, she was kicked off the platform. This all took place in 2016, and insiders from Twitter state she almost got banned after some controversial comments about Sarah Palin. However, this was the final straw. After the ban, she tried to get back on using a different account, but that was also suspended. And at number 6, Rose McGowan. Rose McGowan has been a very vocal figure in the Me Too movement, and she was the first celebrity to call out Harvey Weinstein by name. She was first banned by Twitter in 2016 when she tweeted about an anonymous studio head whose nasty behavior was, quote, an open secret in Hollywood/the media. This tweet caught the attention of Ronan Farrow, who later published a New York Times report on it. Years later, when the report was published and hundreds of other women came forward, actor Ben Affleck decided to tweet out in disgust of Weinstein, which a lot of people were doing at the time. But this sent McGowan into a long rant, alleging that Affleck had known about Weinstein's bad behavior for years. She ended up tweeting for Affleck to F off, but was not suspended until she posted someone's phone number on the platform. She got her account back once it was deleted. Halfway number 5, Clint Eastwood. After Trump won the 2016 election, Clint Eastwood was incredibly happy about it and tweeted out his delight about the win. But many were scratching their heads when his account was later suspended. Some felt the platform was limiting his free speech or even showing a liberal bias. But there was actually more to the story, and it was revealed that he wasn't suspended because of his support for Trump, but because the account wasn't actually Clint Eastwood's. I guess it was just an imposter that was pretending to be him. However, if the account wasn't verified, which I'm kind of assuming it wasn't, I don't know why anyone would really think it's actually Clint Eastwood. I mean, come on now, but okay. And at number 4, Chelsea Handler. This case of suspension was very similar to Rihanna's, and Handler got in trouble on Instagram after she posted a racy photo that violated their terms of service. This took place in 2014 when she posted a topless photo of herself riding a horse. The image apparently broke Instagram's rules about nudity, which doesn't allow women to show their nipples. However, men are allowed to. This decision has drawn a lot of criticism from influencers and celebrities alike, who pointed out the blatant double standard of the policy. Even though Handler was vocal against the decision, the photo was eventually deleted. And at number 3, Adele. This is probably the funniest case of banning because Adele decided to actually ban herself from Twitter. And in this day and age of cancel culture, she definitely made the right decision. And it seems that her thinking was along these lines, and when asked about the decision, she said she felt she was getting too close to tweeting something inappropriate. And taking herself off the platform was the best way to avoid getting in trouble while she's drunk. Now, instead of being off the platform, her Twitter account is run by her team, who tweet and post for her. And at number 2, PewDiePie. PewDiePie is YouTube's biggest star, but he also has a lot of controversy under his belt. One of these is his Twitter suspension. Back in 2016, the YouTuber had his Twitter temporarily suspended, and his verification was even stripped because he made a joke about joining ISIS with another YouTuber. But that wasn't the first of his controversies. He also got massive backlash after he posted a video to his channel that showed a sign with an anti-Semitic message. This video was not only taken down by the platform, but the incident got his YouTube Red series cancelled. He was also dropped from the partner program. After all the fallout from the incident, PewDiePie decided to post less on YouTube and started streaming on sites like Twitch. And finally, number 1, Kanye West. With all the insane rants Kanye posts on Twitter, it's no wonder that he's been suspended on the platform. But instead of being suspended for the things that he has said, Kanye actually got suspended in 2020 after he tweeted out the personal phone number of the Forbes editor at the time. This is obviously doxing and is against Twitter's terms. The ban for this offense lasted less than 12 hours, and he hopped right back on after. Around the time he released the phone number, he also posted photos of his recording contract on Twitter so that his fans could see the arrangement. This was around the time he was fighting for his own masters, and he felt he was going to get killed for speaking out against big names in the industry.
Number 10. Percy Hines White. With the Netflix series Wednesday premiered last year, the world collectively agreed that it was fantastic. It was dark, fun, mysterious, and it was well written for the most part. The only side plot that really added nothing to the show was the love triangle between Wednesday, the coffee shop boy, and Percy Hines White. Percy is a young up-and-coming actor who's appeared in plenty of TV shows and films in his short career. Wednesday skyrocketed him to a new level of recognition, which might be the cause of the allegations that were thrown his way earlier this year. An unnamed woman claimed that he mistreated her when they were living in Toronto. In June, he posted on his Instagram telling people that he needed to clear something up. According to Percy, he doesn't actually know who this woman is, and because of her misinformation, his family and friends were doxxed and received threats to end their lives. He continued to say that in addition to people using underage photos and examples of him acting in character to present him as hateful, he concluded his post by saying that the misinformation was distressing, as well as thanked those who supported his efforts. After the hashtag #CancelPercy gained momentum on Twitter, the accusations began to grow. So much hate just from a rumor started on Twitter when there's no legal accusations, proof of anything, it's just fans gone wild. Number 9. Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart was set to host the Oscars back in 2019, but he was fired last minute after a stand-up bit and a series of tweets had resurfaced that painted him as anti-LGBTQ+. In 2009, Kevin sent out a series of tweets that contained jokes about his feelings about his son potentially coming out in the future, making comments that he would break a dollhouse over his head if he saw him playing with it. He said some harsher stuff that I will not repeat and no one should look up because it's a little bit rough, and I can understand why a lot of people found the comments rude and damaging, because they were. At the time, the comments didn't go unnoticed, but at the time they flew under the radar in terms of media coverage. He then repeated the jokes on stage in his Seriously Funny special. There are also a few homophobic jokes written into the script of the film Get Hard, which I have seen, and I do agree it's a little bit much. In 2015, when asked about the tweets, he told people that he would not be repeating the jokes that he made today, but that the only reason was because the times had been too sensitive. When he was announced as a host in 2018, the internet put a case together as to why he shouldn't be the host. The Oscars were forced to fire him in the role due to the alarming number of hate mail they were receiving on a daily basis. Before they actually let him go, they did give him an option to either apologize and own up or be let go. When Hart released a statement on Instagram, he decided to pass on an apology because he had apparently addressed it several times and acknowledged the rights and wrongs of the incident. The statement only led to more online outrage and sparked a debate, but the next day he released a separate statement apologizing for his actions and words, and especially to the community he insulted. Number 8. Liam Neeson. Liam is a prolific actor. He might be a terrible dad on screen, but he is a great actor. Unfortunately, his acting skills were nowhere to be found when he was being interviewed by The Independent. As part of the interview, the conversation veered into life versus art, and if there was anything that had happened to him in his real life that influenced his film roles. This prompted Liam to tell the person interviewing him that he once walked the streets with a stabby-jabby pen for weeks, just hoping to take his anger out after someone close to him was physically mistreated by a person of color. Liam said that he was ashamed of his actions, but his remarks sparked widespread outrage. The interview was to promote the film Cold Pursuit, which is exactly what it sounds like, and the interviewer asked many questions, including how his character turns to anger, and he replied, "Something primal kicks in." He then went on a tangent about what one goes through when a family member close to you is hurt and there is nothing that can be done. He told a story that I can't repeat because of the heavy subject matter, but it was so intense that journalists interviewing him told BBC News that anyone hearing the thoughts he was reporting here would be shocked and appalled in many ways. He himself has said that he's ashamed to think of the way that he used to say and do things, and he is of course shocked at how awful he became. He received a ton of backlash, but so far he hasn't been cancelled. Number 7. Casey Affleck. Casey has had an interesting career. Being the brother of Ben Affleck has had its advantages. However, he was able to build a career for himself away from his brother to the point where he now has an Oscar for Manchester by the Sea. 1 year after he got that Oscar, he gave his first candid interview about the allegations that he had mistreated two women on the set of his independent film I'm Still Here. Affleck directed and produced the mockumentary and admitted in an interview that the teleprompter glitched and now it is a blue screen. Affleck directed and produced the mockumentary and admitted in an interview that the set was unprofessional. He admitted that he was the main contributor to the situation and took responsibilities for his actions. He then admitted that he made major mistakes and used poor judgment. It was one of the first movies that he had ever actually directed, and he was unsure of what his role was, according to himself. Meanwhile, the actual allegations range from Casey sneaking into bed with a woman to himself and the star of the film, Joaquin Phoenix, locking themselves in a hotel room with some ladies of the night. Affleck denied the allegations for a long time, but after admitting to his misdeeds, nothing really happened. Like, he was cancelled in the eyes of the media and by his fans, but he still works, he writes, he produces films to this day. It's in smaller capacities, but still. Number 6. Tom Cruise. While Tom may be an action movie star and was once a young Hollywood heartthrob, he actually has a massive temper. According to both former assistants as well as several co-stars from his past, Cruise is a regular toddler and is known to throw tantrums, being set off by small things. His former manager, Eileen Berlin, presented him with a gift on his 19th birthday. She gave him an album of teen magazine articles that were written about him, and apparently that set him off. He told his manager that he considered himself an adult, not a teen idol, and then whipped the book in her face. Another example of Tom's aggression was on display during the filming of the sequel to Top Gun, Maverick. During this time, Tom and the rest of the film crew were tasked to film on an actual aircraft carrier that was still in use by the military. One of the crew posted on Twitter calling out the audacity of Tom's behavior. He tweeted that Tom Cruise was actually on their ship, telling people not to talk or look at him. After a few choice words, the crewmate made it very clear that Tom would never be welcome aboard the vessel again. These are just two examples though. Tom has blown up on film crews several times in the past, to the point where his Mission Impossible 2 co-stars are constantly scared of him on set and what he may freak out about next. Number 5. Taylor Swift. Unpopular opinion here. Taylor's tyranny of torment must end now. Taylor Swift has made a name for herself as a person who thrives on the ending of a relationship. Since the late 2000s, Taylor has been making millions in the music industry. Her songs like Love Story and 22 are anthems to many. The catchy tunes tend to come from a place of so-called heartache, however. Taylor has thanked her exes on several occasions for inspiring the songs that made her who she is today. People like Tom Hiddleston, Harry Styles, Jake Gyllenhaal all have had a part to play in the inception of some true bops. The argument can and should be made that Taylor just needs to chill. She has made several songs that were good without the need to berate an ex, and some of those songs are pretty revealing. Imagine if after you broke up with someone, there was a song that popped up on your phone by U2 called Why They Left You. Number 4. Ariana Grande. Now, she's got one less problem without you, and honestly, we'd probably be fine with that. Ariana rose to fame on the hit Nick series Victorious before spinning off and becoming a pop singing sensation. While she may be a good girl and good impressionist on screen, just ask Jimmy Fallon, behind the scenes she's reportedly cold, quiet, and a lot like Taylor Swift, she hates on her exes through song. When she broke up with Saturday Night Live alumni Pete Davidson, she released a song called Pete Davidson, blatantly singing and trashing about her ex-fiance. The song made her a lot of money, of which Pete received none. If you're gonna trash someone, at least give them a little piece of that cheddar. On top of this, her behavior in general has been pretty chaotic. She once left a meet and greet because she didn't like the way the photos were turning out. Those people paid hundreds of dollars and she was like, yeah, thank you, next. In 2015, a video surfaced of Ariana visiting a Californian donut shop. The owners were beyond excited to see her until she began licking donuts and then putting them back on the shelves. According to the shop owners, those donuts were never paid for and they had to be thrown away. They really should have preserved them and sold them online though, because some people are weird. This incident also got her nixed from performing at a White House event despite multiple public apologies. The darkest of stories comes from a Hollywood insider though and has not been confirmed to to be 100% true. The man in question was working with Ariana at a signing event, and apparently she was all smiles until the event was over and they got in the elevator. According to them, her first words as the doors closed were, "I hope they all frickin' perish." Only she didn't say perish. Kinda makes you realize why Nickelodeon stars aren't as popular as adults. Number 3, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey may echo in your skull around this time of year, but according to most, you should really keep that space in your head reserved for someone else, maybe Michael Bublé. Mariah has been known to be a bit of a diva over the years, apparently making outlandish requests and taking part in some really strange moments. For instance, when giving birth to her children, Mariah had the doctors play a live version of her song Fantasy, so that her voice was the first thing that they heard in the world. Unfortunately, it was on shuffle and it played "Bird is the Word." No, but that would have been fantastic and scarred them for life. She's walked out of presidential events because she wasn't the center of attention. She makes people speak to her with a whiteboard the night before performances to preserve her voice, and literally made someone roll out a red carpet for her when she walks out of vehicles. Like that lady from Guardians of the Galaxy. Just is literally someone's job to crouch down and go just all day. Needless to say, she's currently classified as a diva, but honestly we should classify her as canceled, because all I want for Christmas is a new song. Number 2, Jared Leto. Jared Leto is an interesting fellow. Hey, it rhymes. He started his own religious group, he brings a new meaning to the word method acting, and let's face it, he kinda sucks. Over the past few years, reports from Jared's fellow actors are anything but positive. When he was the Joker, he left his fellow castmates used adult devices, pig heads, and live snakes in their trailers as gifts. He was trying to stay method as the Joker, but anyone on the receiving end of those gifts just wish he would go away. On top of that, he's been known to stay in character, meaning that if he's playing someone who's angry or silent, that's how he's gonna be the entire time he's on set. This guy hasn't really been questioned for his actions at any point in recent history, only being called a weirdo, and then we just leave it at that. With his career still well on the rise, here's hoping Jared will eventually be called out for good and added to Hollywood's no-no list. Number 1, Morgan Freeman. Yes, the voice of God himself, Morgan Freeman, has been a soothing soul for many, many years. To this day, families can hear Morgan narrate the world around them in an immersive 360 IMAX screen at the Science Center in Toronto. He may be a comfort to some, but according to a few women, Morgan is actually their nightmare. Morgan has been accused of inappropriate behavior on multiple occasions between 1991 and 2015. According to one production assistant from the film Going in Style, which is a bank heist movie featuring himself, Michael Caine, and Alan Arkin, Freeman subjected her to unwanted touching and comments about her figure and clothing on a near daily basis. "Gentlemen, lend me your ear. This move is rarely well received. Get a new move." According to her, in one instance, Freeman attempted to lift her skirt and asked to see her underclothes. She was not the only one to speak out though. A senior member of the production staff on the film, Now You See Me Too, told CNN that Freeman harassed her and her female assistant on numerous occasions, making similar comments to figures and clothing. I could go on with more and more examples, but to save some time, I will boil it down for you. Morgan Freeman is a little creepy, and I'm sorry to say it, but this dude needs to retire as soon as possible.
But coming in at number 10, it's Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson is an actor who has been around for a long time. He is an incredibly talented actor, being in huge franchises like the Dark Knight trilogy and Star Wars, not to mention the many awards he has received for his acting. Despite all that though, he really shocked the world when he publicly admitted in an interview that he once wanted to indiscriminately end the lives of specifically black people after a female friend of his was ruthlessly attacked by a black person. This was about 40 years ago. Speaking to The Independent about how he got into one of his characters for a film, he said, quote, "I went up and down areas with a kosh, hoping I'd be approached by somebody. I'm ashamed to say that. And I did it for maybe a week, hoping some black something would come out of a pub and have a go at me about something, you know? So that I could, and I have to leave the rest up to your imagination of what he could do." But needless to say, many people were pretty furious. Had it been a lesser actor, this may have spelled out the end of his career, yet because Neeson admitted this action in a seemingly apologetic and remorseful way, he was actually hailed by some people as being courageous for admitting and seeking forgiveness. Some people, but not everyone. Despite many people having no sympathy for Neeson's actions, the actor seems to have simply walked away from the entire incident unscathed. It seems a mixture of his status as one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood and the fact that he confessed himself, apologized later, and sought forgiveness on his own has saved him from being cancelled. Number 9, Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller had been having a really good steady climb up the ladder of Hollywood, killing it in Perks of Being a Wallflower, getting a large role in the Fantastic Beasts series, and set to star in The Flash as the lead superhero. But then, Miller seemed to go off the deep end. While they have recently issued a public apology saying that they are suffering from complex mental health issues, there have been a string of incidents that will likely ultimately mean that we may not see much of the actor going forward. Starting in 2020 when they were in an altercation with a woman outside a bar in Iceland, we then move on to 2022. Miller was arrested and charged after they got agitated by people singing karaoke at a bar in Hawaii, which led to the actor yelling obscenities, getting physical, and lunging at a woman. Then, in that same month, also in Hawaii, Miller got a restraining order filed against them by a couple after Miller burst into their bedroom, threatening the male victim, and then took some of their belongings, including social security cards, a wallet, passport, license, and bank cards. The next month, in April, the actor was charged and arrested after they got upset and threw a chair at someone, and then we fast forward to June when Miller is accused of having an upsetting relationship with a young woman named Dakota Iron Eyes. This was all followed that same month by another parent who sought legal action after Miller, quote, menaced their family and acted inappropriately. Then it went to another level when in August, Ezra was accused of burglary. As you can probably tell, the whole thing is a lot, even by Hollywood standards, but yet Ezra is still starring in one of the most anticipated superhero films of this year, although he probably won't be starring in anything going forward. Number 8. Kanye West. The thing about Kanye West is that despite his many offenses, of which there have been many, we all know that this isn't the way the guy has always been. And according to those who know the rapper and fashion designer, he is clearly dealing with some pretty prominent issues regarding his mental health. For the things he's said and done, he is almost like shadow cancelled, where people don't really support the artist himself or his newest works, but tons of people still bump his tunes and just find his newest offenses entertaining more than anything else. People especially love and still listen to his older stuff, and because of that, Kanye obviously can still go around doing what he does. If you have seen the artist in recent interviews or when he has spoken at fashion shows, or if you have listened to anything he said recently, I think it's safe to say that Kanye is sick, as in actually dealing with some serious issues. Of course, it doesn't excuse his actions, for which he really should be cancelled for, but what I think he really needs is help. Serious professional help, which is probably true for Ezra Miller too, given the sheer amount of things he's done. Number 7. Ellen. The star talk show host and comedian Ellen DeGeneres was once one of the most beloved celebrities around. Her quirky style, her outspoken political views, and her friendly demeanor often went down well with mostly everyone. Her show was built on her kindness, and the endless stream of A-list entertainers she always had on it also showed how well liked she was in Hollywood. But a bit more recently, the tune has begun to change. According to the complaints, Ellen's management team was often demanding, domineering, and created a toxic work environment, and some were even accused of racism, bullying, and physical mistreatment. The complaints, though, later spilled over to Ellen herself. But what has also come to light is the way she's treated other celebs while literally being filmed on the show. For example, pressuring a pregnant Mariah Carey into revealing that she was pregnant when she wasn't ready to do so by pressuring her to drink champagne. Or when she made Taylor Swift seemingly have a meltdown as she made fun of the amount of Hollywood men who Swift has had relationships with, and then made her go through male celebrities saying whether she has or has not had some kind of interaction with them. While such accusations would usually be enough for other celebrities to be cancelled immediately, Ellen addressed the problems, issued apologies to disgruntled staff, and was relatively unfazed. Sure, her show did eventually come to an end after an epic run, but that wasn't because she was cancelled, it's because she ended the show. Number 6. Jared Leto. Ever since all the way back in 2005, Jared Leto has been facing serious allegations of extremely inappropriate and honestly kinda sick behavior against women of various ages. It's the very reason that DCU director James Gunn has reportedly refused to allow Leto back to reprise his role as the Joker in the franchise going forward. But despite the allegations, which have been coming up for a long time now, he has never seemed to take any kind of hit. He has never faced charges, he has never been outed during the Me Too movement, he hasn't ever been cancelled, and in fact, a lot of people seem to really like this actor. Jared Leto continues to enjoy huge popularity among his fans and even those who are just casual moviegoers. Most other actors would never survive accusations like the ones he has received, but Leto seems to just keep on walking along as if nothing happened and no one bats an eye. Number 5. Gina Carano. Now, I don't believe that having a political opinion that isn't the majority should have you cancelled cancelled. That's on the side of ridiculous. It stands against free speech and it's pretty undemocratic. That being said though, comparing the division between Republicans and Democrats to World War II Europe and the atrocities that happened there is just downright stupid, and you are bound to receive backlash. Gina Carano, the former MMA fighter turned Mandalorian star, enraged some fans with a series of politically charged social media posts, including the one I just mentioned in February 2021. Removing the problematic words that would get this video demonetized, her Instagram post read, quote, "Most people today don't realize that to get to the point where soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views?" Answer to that question is, it's very different, Gina. But she didn't back down, and it only got worse when she said on Twitter that her preferred pronouns are beep bop boop, which she defended by saying that she was, quote, "exposing the bullying mentality of the mob that has taken over the voices of many genuine causes." And she decided to do that by openly mocking the LGBTQ+ community. Not too much later, the hashtag Fire Gina Carano began trending on Twitter, and Disney severed ties with the actress. Her management company, United Talent Agency, also dropped her, but yet Carano turned to her pals on the right and worked on Terror on the Prairie, produced by the Daily Wire, a conservative media company. So she's not fully cancelled, but do you think she should be? That's the real question. Number 4, Nick Cannon. Back in 2020, a podcast recording featuring actor, show host, and celebrity father of like 30 children, Nick Cannon, making several comments that many deemed incredibly insensitive, but specifically anti-Semitic. Cannon also discussed offensive conspiracy theories that focused on Jewish people specifically as well. Now, when news of these recordings spread and the anger of the people continued to grow, Cannon was still allowed to continue his work on The Masked Singer, but his longtime producing partner, Viacom CBS, ended their relationship with the actor, who was hosting his incredibly popular Wild 'N Out under the production company. This meant the star could no longer host Wild 'N Out. Now, after the scandal broke, Cannon did publicly apologize, and he even met with rabbis and gave money to a Jewish organization. And likely because of that, in 2021, Viacom CBS responded to his efforts by reinstating him as the host of Wild 'N Out. I personally think he just needs to stop producing so many damn children, but do you think his actions deserved greater repercussions? Number 3, Chris Brown. I'm actually surprised by how popular the R&B star Chris Brown still is. As most people know, the singer faced extreme scrutiny after multiple reports confirmed that he had a brutal physical altercation with his former partner and fellow musician, Rihanna. Most of us have seen the pictures of Rihanna's face after the fact. He even pled guilty to the incident and was required to perform community service. Now sure, Brown expressed remorse for his actions towards Rihanna, but then he returned to releasing songs and albums with actual success. The worst part is that his success stories were also reported alongside articles that he had even more similar experiences with other women who also publicly outed him. Despite the controversy though, Brown won an award for male R&B artist at the AMAs in 2022, which was met with some boos, but he walked away fairly unscathed and continues to go on as if nothing ever happened. Number 2, Louis C.K. Still a success in his own bubble for a good chunk of time, Louis C.K. was among the biggest names in comedy, but that changed when a group of female comics revealed his actions performed in the bedroom without their consent. Now, Louis even admitted to his actions following the publication of an investigative story in the New York Times in 2017. A detailed statement on what he did and an apology to the women he did it to was released, and the scandal led to the scrapping of his movie I Love You Daddy, a TV deal with FX, and a large number of pre-booked performances. It cost the comic about $35 million in earnings, and his management and publicists dropped him. But yet, Louis C.K. has continued touring and playing venues including Madison Square Garden to fans who really just couldn't care less. Now, Louis distributes his own material, so he's continued to have comedy specials which can be bought directly from his website, and he even purchased a commercial spot during an episode of SNL. He also won the 2022 Best Comedy Album Grammy for Sincerely Louis C.K., but still he did take a hit, and he isn't likely to be making a comeback to what he once had. Do you think that's good enough punishment, or should the repercussions for his actions be more severe as well? And finally, in at number 1 is Will Smith. Now listen, I think just like Ezra Miller and Kanye West, acting legend Will Smith is having a tough go in his personal life that is kind of bleeding out into the public. Will Smith has been one of my favorite actors for years, but none of that makes it okay to storm a stage and get physical with a performer, whether they make fun of your wife's alopecia or not. But that's exactly what he did at the 2022 Oscars to comedian Chris Rock, who compared Jada Pinkett Smith to G.I. Jane as a joke without knowing that she did suffer from the hair loss. Smith then sat back down and yelled the infamous "keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth," as we all know. Now Judd Apatow, Jim Carrey, Amy Schumer, Wanda Sykes, and Zoe Kravitz, plus others, all publicly spoke out against the actor's actions, though others came to his defense, including Tiffany Haddish, Denzel Washington, and Jamila Jamil. Now Sony is said to have put Bad Boys 4 on hold, and Netflix has backburnered Fast and Loose, and CAA, his agency, also reportedly discussed dropping Smith as a client, but ultimately they did not. But for this one, it seems that Smith felt almost instant regret, as evident in his Oscar acceptance speech later on in the awards show. He also ended up quitting the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences, and the Academy then banned him from the ceremony for 10 years. It remains to be seen what will happen with his career going forward and the boatload of projects he is attached to. Do you think he should come back from this one, or do you think that he should kind of just stay off in the dark?